Hey everybody, Robert with RC Archery here. I want to start out saying Happy New Year's. I'm filming this on New Year's Eve, but it will be uploaded and you'll be viewing it if you view it the day of on New Year's Day. So we can start out 2017 with a bang. I've had a lot of people questions, a lot of people asking me, are you going to have tips? Are you going to have that type of material on your channel still? And I am. It just won't be on Tuesdays. It may sporadically be on a Tuesday, but I can't necessarily promise it as far as a Tuesday's tip of the week type deal anymore. What I am going to do is do my best to have at least one video every week where you can see a tip or something to help you. It may be a single video just like this one where it's all centralized around one thing. It may be me shooting and talking about several things about a shot, my form or whatever it may be. But I'm going to try to get at least one of those a week, be able to still help everybody with their archery. That's what I built the channel on. That's how it's going to continue to go as well, along with my reviews and other things that will be mixed in along the way. Beyond that, there's two things that I want to bring up, see what direction you want me to do. I have two instructional videos that I am in the planning stages on. One's completely done and one is almost completely done. I'm going to let you decide which one you want me to do first. The first one is a target panic, ways to overcome it, ways to get past it. Everything that I would go over with my coaching, with my students, or anyone that has it personally, that's going to go into this video and this DVD. I started to bring this out and started to film it the day of John Dudley announcing that he was going to do a live feed over target panic, so I stopped on it. I didn't want to seem like I was infringing on that. I didn't want to see like, hey, it's coming right after the other. It's completely different information than what he talked about in the video, which is good because you're going to have, his be able to look at and go over. You'll have some with, with what I'll put out to look at and go over as well. So you can have some different takes on it, different things you can try and see what works the best for you and see which ones you can integrate together to be able to work. I really liked what he had to say and I do think that would work very well. Other one is going to be just my coaching and everything that I do all together in DVD form. So it's going to be taking an archer from start, beginning of it, your form, what points of the form need to be perfect, what you need to look for, what you can vary from and make your own, what you shouldn't, and then how to fit your bow to you. So you don't want to fit yourself to the bow, you want the bow to fit you. So I'm going to go over form and bow fitment first. It's going to go into shot execution, how to steady your pin, how to get everything more consistent, how to get better groupings on target, all my methods that I use for that, and then finally the tuning portion of it. What I would do to tune, what I think is most important, where you need to vary for different skill levels to really self-assess yourself and see which is going to work most efficiently for you. And then I'm going to try to gather some information and put some different things together for hybrid, two cam, single cam bows, bows with yokes, bows without the yokes, where you have to shim cams, all that kind of information. Try to sprinkle that in as well to be able to help out other people on other bow platforms and just a Hoyt and just that hybrid type system. So I'll let you comment below in this video. Let me know which one you would like to see first. And I will get on that as far as the filming goes and try to get that out within the month of January. Be able to have all that going. So with that said, let's get right into the video, guys. It's gonna be 3 tips to help you with hitting the reset button. All right, so by this point in time, most everyone has either played a video game or seen a little kid especially playing a video game. And what's the most popular thing you hear them say? Do over, reset, that didn't count. You hear that a lot, and that's a really big part of being able to play a video game is being able to click that reset button. What we need to do as archer is be able to reset our shot and click our own reset button and be effective with that. So what that means is starting over on the shot, maybe starting over on your form, helping you get out of a slump to where you need to be able to get back into the swing of things, get back into the flow of things. So I've come up with 3 tips. There's more obviously to go with it, but these are 3 pretty big ones to be able to look at, to be able to help you the most. First one that I want to talk about is letting down. That's the one that's hardest for all of us to do, right? Everybody, me especially, I get stubborn. I don't want to let down on my shot. I want to power through it. I want to keep going, and I don't want to admit defeat. I think that's the biggest part of it, is you just don't want to admit defeat, that something is wrong with your shot. You just want to be able to power through it and get everything to hit on target. That's a really big one. I've got some different break points, really 3 different break points that I look at as far as when I'm setting up my shot. First one's going to be, did my bow shoulder get set properly when I anchor and get to full draw? And the way you'll be able to tell about that is look at what your pin, look at what your dot is doing on target. If your float is wavier and moving around more than usual, or if it's wanting to bob up and down more than usual, that's a telltale sign that your bow shoulder did not get set properly. It's going to be wavy, it's going to be bouncy. That's the first point that I'm going to look at. I'm going to let down if everything didn't look correct, that way that I can restart my shot. Second part that I'm going to look at is what's the pin doing after anchor and start to work through my shot. Is it wanting to drop down? Am I fighting it? Am I trying to lift it back up? Usually what that means is that you have a high rear shoulder. It means that you're not releasing the muscles that are on the top of the neck and the top part of your shoulder here, and you're leaving the shoulder up like this. What you want to do is release these muscles here and let that shoulder drop. What that's going to do is put it in place to where everything within this little area between the shoulders is going to be able to compress against itself. That's going to hold you so much steadier, and it's going to keep you from wanting to drop that pin down on target. And then the third one, the final one that I really look at is what's my shot timing doing. If it's a really long shot, just not wanting to break, maybe I feel like I'm pulling the bow apart, whatever it may be going. If I get past my normal shot timing window, then I'm going to let down. Because after that point, nothing good happens. Like that old saying, your mom might have told you, don't go out after midnight, nothing good happens after midnight. It's kind of the same thing. Once you reach that shot window, the end of that shot window rather, anything past that, it's just going to be bad news. Let down, restart. That's going to be the three that I look at when I go to let down. Alright, so the second part of this is what I want to talk about is something to help you get out of a slump and help you get back on track. That's going to be following a shot routine. If you're not already following one, develop one and do that each and every shot. If it's happening in practice and it's repetitive, it's going to happen in a situation where you've got some stress. Tournament, shooting at an animal, whatever it may be, you're going to need to have it developed in practice for it to be second nature to help you be able to utilize it under pressure as well. So, when you're in a slump, when something's bad, really break it down, really analyze it, and go through each and every step one by one and make sure you're following everything. Make sure it all looks the same. Keep some reference, maybe keep pictures, photos, videos, something like that in your phone where you can look back at it and see what you're doing. Big one is your stance. I see a lot of people that vary their stance sometime and they have some problem. It's a good one to have a picture of so you can see what your perfect stance is. I have a drill for it that I'm going to go over in step 3 here. Be able to give you an idea on what you can do with that to help you get back on track. The other one is your bow hand. A lot of people carry tension in their bow hand, especially in a stressful situation. That can cause havoc on your shot. It's going to make the pin wobble back and forth. You can be torquing the bow, you can be gripping it, having weird hits on target, misses, stuff like that. And then your shot execution. I mean, that's a huge one as well. What you're doing with this release hand, what you're doing with your follow through, all that develops with that shot routine. You want to be able to have a good solid one in place. I'm going to go over mine real quick and let you just see some of the main factors of what I look at. Try to keep it as simple as possible. As you're learning it, you're going to have to break it down. You're going to have to build more steps in just so that you can really take one thing at a time and build on it and make it perfect. But just as a whole, I'll let you see what I do. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is set my feet. I'm going to approach the target line. I'm going to do it the same way every time. I'm going to set everything on here in the same manner. I'm going to put my right foot on the line, just touching the edge of it or right on top of it, and I'm going to check my foot spacing and make sure that they're offset the exact same way every time. That's going to be step number 1. Step number 2 is putting my hand into the grip. I want to make sure that I'm placing it in there softly and in the exact same spot each time. Now, I've gone over grip specifically in other videos. I'll link them here in the description below, that way you can see them. But this is what I'm going to do to begin with. I'm going to look at the webbing in between the index and the thumb. I'm going to make sure it flexes when I go to put my hand into the bow. That's going to show me that it's soft, and I'm going to make sure that my hand on the palm is touching on the grip the exact same way every time. That's going to be step number 2. My third step is one that a lot of people overlook, and it's going to be how you grip the release. I leave my release in my release pouch the same every time, and I'm going to pick it up out of there the same and make sure that it's placed in my hand the exact same each and every shot. That way I can get the same type of grip, the same type of hold on it, and when I go to execute my shot, that's not going to make the timing of this hinge or my thumb button different from shot to shot. Alright, so my next step is going to involve one of the break points that I talked about in my shot routine where I look at letting down. This is going to be setting the front shoulder. When I go to draw the bow, I want to make sure that my front shoulder is in place every single time and that it's low and it's going to be able to be pushed back into the socket. The way that I do that is raising the bow hand just above the shoulder, drawing back, and then when I come into anchor, that hand being just above the shoulder like that is going to drive that arm and drive the ball joint of that shoulder into the actual joint itself. So it's not going to allow it to creep up. It's going to keep it down. It's going to keep it in place so that you don't have any problems with up and down float or varies on the way your sight picture looks. All right, so step number 5 within my shot routine is going to be how I set my rear shoulder. Make sure that I'm relaxing the muscles up here on the top of the shoulder and on the bottom portion of the neck and allowing it to drop into place. I'm going to do that as I anchor and as I clench the muscles in my back to actually develop my preload and pull myself into full draw. I use a click on my hinge. That's also when the click is going to happen as well. So right here, it's going to be relaxing that shoulder, and that's going to bring the hand down to my normal anchor. And then as I do that, I'm going to let my thumb off the thumb peg. I'm going to clench my back and do my preload, and that's what's going to allow me to get to my click. All right, so my final step on my shot routine is going to be circling my housing with my peep. So the way that I like to do it personally is I take my peep sight and I make a halo around this white ring that you see on my actual scope. Some people do this differently. Some people like to have a smaller peep on a bigger scope housing and circle the target that's inside of it. That's a very good way to do it, and kind of circle everything on the target and be able to see it. Some people use a really small peep and they circle the pin itself and they just leave that in the middle. Whatever you like to do, whatever works best, make sure that you develop something to where you're going to do that the exact same way every time, because that's going to show you variance on your anchor point. It's also why people with bigger scopes, they have a bigger variance that they can move this hand and circle this scope housing and move off of it a little bit. That's why you see a little bit less accuracy from it, and that's why a lot of target shooters like to use these really small scope housings. Alright guys, so my third tip on hitting the reset button is going to revolve around your form and what I like to call form tests. This is going to be another one to help you get back on track when everything is going wrong and to help you find your flow again. What I like to do is develop some tests, see what I'm doing wrong, see how my form is breaking down, or maybe something is wrong with it that I can be able to do a quick fix on and get back rolling. One of the big things that I look at is studying my float and what it looks like. I've done some videos about this in the past. I'm going to link them in the description below. That way you can go back and view them. It's first person views. I actually have the camera attached with my bow, and you can look through my scope at the target and see exactly what's going on in different scenarios. That's a big one for me. I want to look at it and just study it. I'm not going to shoot. I'm not going to go through my shot process, anything like that. I'm just going to hold on target and I'm going to see what my sight pin is doing. The second one is going to be the stance. Having your natural point of aim built into your stance. I like that method the best. Some people like to develop a more open stance where they fight that to develop tension into the body. Me personally, I want to have a natural point of aim where my hips are controlling my shoulders and moving me left and right to center me on target. I've found personally that that works the best for me. It keeps me from being pulled off target one way or the other throughout my shot, and it's most consistent day to day for me. When I look at this, I do this a little bit different than what a lot of people do. A lot of times what you hear is draw back on target with your eyes closed, hold them closed for a few seconds, open them, see where you're at. That can have some variances put into it. Personally, what I do and what I help my students do is to draw your bow back, anchor, get on target, do everything that you would do on your normal shot routine except start your shot execution. At that point, then close your eyes. You're already set on target and you're already in place. I want to see your drift, because as you start working through your shot execution portion of it, that's when your body will drift left and right. So that's the same concept when we close our eyes. If we close them and we're off to the left side of the target, that means our stance is too open, our hips are too open, and it's pulling our shoulders with it. Then we need to close that stance up a little bit. We need to work the feet together, keep them offset like we talked about in the shot routine and what it looked like on there, but move your hips together. Keep that same offset and just shift the hips and move them back and forth. That's keeping a neutrally open stance to where you're keeping your bow arm out of the target, but it's also being able to move your actual shoulders with you. So it helps the best for a lot of varying situations depending on how people are built, the way that they're anchored in on target, and the way they pull through their shot. Same thing if you're aiming off to the right of the target. After you open your eyes up, you want to open your hips up a little bit more, and that's going to pull your shoulders off to the left. Next one is studying your follow through. Studying your follow through is going to be a big one because that's going to show you what you were doing right before the shot broke. If your release hand comes way up out of the face, if it comes way off to the side, all that's going to matter on what you're doing right before the shot. It's putting torque on the back of the arrow. It's going to relate on misses on target. So that's a really big one to watch what your release hand does. Personally, I like to teach all my students, and what I do on myself is to think of your release hand as pulling it back towards the top of your shoulder as you're working through your shot. It gives a point of direction for it, it gives you consistency for it, and it gives you a reference point whenever you go to look and see what your follow through is doing and where you ended up. The other big one is your bow hand. Where did your hand go after the shot? Did it come way up on target? Did it drop like a rock? Did it go way off to the left or way off to the right? That's going to help you know what force and what direction you were moving that arm right before the shot broke. And it'll help you coincide with what you're seeing on target to get back on track. It goes back to your feet with the left and right movement. Up and down can be your bow shoulder. Maybe you're not setting it correctly. Maybe it's coming up as you're working through your shot, over aiming, collapsing, that type of situation. That's some of the things you need to look for. Last one is going to be getting another set of eyes. So having a coach, having another archer, having somebody that knows your shot and somebody that can help analyze your shot, look at it. It can be, even if you want to, video yourself, film yourself, look at it yourself. A lot of times we can see stuff as well. We know what our shot normally feels like, especially if we've been studying it and we can see something right away. But if you can't, that second set of eyes will help a lot. Getting somebody new, somebody fresh, somebody that doesn't have preconceived notions of what's going on and maybe is looking for something to point out, that can help you a lot as well. That's going to be my 3 steps to help you hit the reset button. 3 things to be able to look at to really help you keep moving with it. Appreciate y'all watching the video today. I'm going to come out with some more. Again, Happy New Year's. Get out, do something archery.